Hello there, this is Craig. This is another mindfulness video. The theme for this one is about relationships, how to cope when somebody has bothered you, or you've had a discussion with somebody and it hasn't gone very well, or you've been a bit argumentative, feeling a bit emotional about it. What can we do? How can we help our relationships improve? That's kind of what this video is about. So, when we're kind of in conflict with somebody, we're both bringing our past, if you like, to the conversation. So we've got our mind there that's coming in, and we have already in our mind a set of beliefs, rules, concepts, da da da, and the other person has too. And when those beliefs or ideas in our mind don't match the other person, there can be a conflict, you see. And then that's where you get arguments begin. No, no, that's not right at all. It should be this way. Or no, 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 no. My belief is it should be this way. And then you've got this fight. Um, so initially, with this is a mindfulness video. So mindfulness can really help with relationships because before you even engage with somebody in conversation, you can tune in with yourself with mindfulness, with awareness, and be like, well, how am I feeling right now? What am I thinking right now? Is this thought a judgmental thought? Is it a bothery thought? I like calling them bothery thoughts. Judgments come from your past, you see. Everything comes from your past, not this moment happening right now. So your mindfulness can tune in with yourself and you could catch, I'm in the past, I'm thinking about this, and this. And that's making me feel this, annoyed, bothered, whatever. And so the first thing to do before you even engage in conversation with somebody is to enter your being, have a breath, and be present. Be present. Let go of all the past stuff and calm yourself in the present moment so that you're kind of as calm as you can be before you engage in a conversation. Now, it's not always easy because sometimes when we have conversations, it just kind of happens. We're just chatting away and we're probably both okay. And then somebody says something, and then that gets our hackles rising, and then we're attacking the other, you see. So the first rule is always to try and calm yourself in the present moment. And okay, in certain situations, it's hard to do. Sometimes you can catch yourself getting bothered, getting annoyed, getting troubled. So you can excuse yourself and go somewhere and go, oh God, I'm already feeling tense. Practice a few breaths, try and calm yourself to as much presence as you can cultivate, really. But you'll go in with a certain level of awareness, and it gets easier the more you practice this. And it's also good to notice that when we are in an argument, we are suffering, and the other person is equally suffering. And when we're suffering, our suffering is always out from the past. So something that the person has said has triggered a memory in our past that's created the suffering. And so, especially with people like family or familiar people who have known us for many, many years, it's very easy for them to trigger you into a mode of suffering, into a mode of emotion like anger or anxiety or frustration, because you're so familiar with that person, that you're both in this kind of habit, energy of how you interact with one another or how you talk to one another. So mindfulness is really interesting in these situations because you can try and see how you react to a person or how you respond to a person in that moment. And you might start to catch yourself doing a habit, you know. It's like somebody says something to you and you instantly go back to how you used to say the same thing years ago. And so your suffering is in the past and it just comes up. It gets triggered in the moment of your argument. Equally, the other person, if they're arguing, they're also triggered by something that's happened in their past. And so, in this way, it's really interesting because the current conversation actually is not about what's going on, what caused the argument in the first place. It's actually two people or more fighting over their past suffering. So, this is really useful information because if someone is having a go at you, immediately you can sort of get that sense that they're suffering. They've had something that's happened to them in the past that they haven't yet resolved, because here it is now projecting and coming out today in this argument. So, knowing that is a softening of the whole thing because they're not directly, you know, telling you off personally. It's kind of that they're projecting their anger onto you, or they're projecting their frustration onto you. The frustration and anger was already there in them. And it's the same for yourself. And we tend to go into an argument hoping to win the argument. So there's a duality, there's a you versus the other person, and that's an ego energy um, based on your past suffering. So when you get angry, when I used to get angry in the past, and I used to have a go at people, after I became a bit more mindful and kind of sat with my anger a bit, I discovered that that anger was based on past suffering. And it wasn't related to the person I was angry at. It was related to people I was angry at from a young age, from people who influenced me at a young age. And they planted the seed of anger in me. And it just kind of happened to just keep happening in a subconscious way until you pause to look at your emotions. And this is what this video is basically about. The first step, look at your emotions. As I say, before you engage in conversation, try and be as calm, but you'll get triggered by somebody, something. You'll get annoyed. So if you get annoyed, okay, you have to come away from the conversation at some point. Try and sit with that annoyance. Try and be with it and ask the question of where's it come from? Because it's coming from your past. It's an unhealed part of you. Maybe you still feel a victim to something, and then that victimness is being projected out onto the other person. Equally, we can't change how another person responds to us. The only thing we can do is calm ourselves. That's what we've got in control. We can't manipulate or coerce anybody into doing what we want, because they may or may not do that, and it may or may not be right or wrong anyway. The thing to do is to calm yourself, and then you discover that you actually don't need other people to conform to your whim or your will. You've kind of lost your victimness by being with whatever the past thing is, and letting it come up and letting it be released, and it goes away. I've discovered the more I've sat with my anger that it doesn't come up anymore, because I've kind of understood it. I've recognized it. I've understood that it's from a past situation that's no longer here. Therefore, why would I get bothered by it? I have an awareness that all my emotions really are coming from thoughts that are based on past situations. So, knowing that, I try and be as clean and clear as possible each moment, so that I can turn up for people with my presence and my beingness and listen to what they've got to say. So, to solve arguments, you have to stop arguing. The first step is to stop arguing. So, you can only do that yourself. So, the first thing to do is, instead of arguing back and going back with the same habit, the same pattern, you stop and you listen to the other person. And actually, in your mind is a question of, how do I help their suffering? Because I can see that they're caught up in their past, and they're just playing it out. They're projecting it out upon you right now. Okay, Thank you for that. Um, how can I help them? How can I help them? If I can help them, and sometimes just by listening, not trying to change their opinion or anything like that, not trying to put your own opinion onto it, you're listening, you're opening the space for that person to talk. And you're just going to listen, and you maybe reflect back in your own words what they've said to you, so that they understood that you've heard them. Um, and that's it. You kind of try and soften your approach. You're calm, you're measured, you're reflecting back. You're not worried about the other person's opinion. It can't interfere with you in this moment. It's only interfering with you because of a past moment that you've held on to as a belief. So we come away from belief, we come into now, this moment. How do I feel now? Am I calm? Can I engage with this other person? If I can't, I might have to withdraw. Or I had to have the argument, and then afterwards I need to settle and sit and reflect upon it. And this reflection is very important. You can sit and start to gauge, well, where did the anger come from? Where did the frustration come from? My frustration, not theirs. Mine. I can only deal with myself. If I work on myself and my inner peace, then relationships will improve. Everything will improve. It doesn't matter who you're talking to, family, friends, acquaintances, it does not matter. You go in with the same energy. Calm, peaceful presence is so important. If you're present for another person, then you're not worried by what they say. You're not feeling attacked by what they say, because you realize that what they're doing, they're acting out their suffering from the past. It's as simple as that. And so, because they're suffering from something that's happened in their past, how can we help that? How can we be kind to that? Sometimes just sitting and saying nothing is kind. Sometimes just having a cup of tea with the person is kind, and they can rant and whatever. But you're reflecting it back to them. And you could ask questions. It's like, oh, I'm really seeing that that this is emotional for you, or I'm really seeing that you're really you've got some aggression, you've got some anger here with what's going on. And yes, some people might take that as a personal insult, but you just work through it. You kind of, this is a dance, mindful communication is going in, you say something, and you notice what the reaction of the other person is, and then that informs you whether you carry on with that dialogue or you retreat and you come back into your being. You realize, oh yeah, that's triggered something else in them. So okay, take a step back. The whole focus is on, how can I help this other person? And sometimes it will work, and sometimes it won't work. But the more you turn up for conversations with that in mind, how can I help this other person ease their suffering? If you manage to ease their suffering, they lose their anger, they lose their frustration, they lose the argument, they become peaceful and more open, in fact, then to your opinion, if you so have one, to your suggestions. But we're not going into a conversation in order to put our mark on it or to stamp our authority onto it. We're there to hold the other person through their suffering. And if we can soften their suffering, you find relationships get better all of their own accord. So if you're struggling with somebody, if you're in a relationship situation where you're fighting all the time or you're arguing all the time, the chances are you both got strong opinions and you're trying to impose your opinion onto the matter. The key to success is to let go of your opinion and help that person suffer less. How can you help them suffer less? It's an act of service. If you can help that person suffer less, they're more open to talking to you about what's really going on, not what even they think is going on in that moment, because it's of the past, you see. They're only acting out their victimness from something that's already happened. So that's basically this video. I don't want to talk too deeply into it. This is a very broad, general conversation about it. But just go into a conversation with how do I help the other? Not what I get, not what I want. That can all come later. The first thing to do is to check in with the other person. How are you doing? Can I sit with you? I am really hearing that you're struggling with this. Um, I am wanting to listen to your opinion. What is it that makes you feel that way? What makes it, you know, those kind of questions. But you're peaceful. And it doesn't matter what they say to you. They can't get you upset because you know it's about their past. It's nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you at all. Not here now. Certainly not. So I hope this has been of use. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. It's all a practice. It's all just trying to become present and be with the other person with as much calmness as you can muster. And sometimes that needs time yourself to go away, to sit with yourself, to be with yourself, and to allow the past suffering that you have to come up. We've all got past suffering. This is all a journey for us all. We're not unique in that way. There are a lot of emotions buried within us that just bloop, come out if someone says something or looks us in a funny way. So we need to come into ourselves first. That's the first rule. Practice just being with things, allowing the anger to rise or the frustration to rise. Yeah, I'm really frustrated. And then you come out of your mind and you go into your heart. You breathe with your frustration and you allow it to settle. And then you're coming back with a calmer viewpoint. The more you practice this, as I say, relationships will get better. But you have to start with yourself and only yourself. You cannot affect another person. You can only help them ease their suffering. And one brilliant way of doing that is not reacting to them in an aggressive way. Otherwise, you'll never get anywhere. So I hope that's been of use. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you have a lovely day with as few arguments as possible. So take care, and I'll speak to you again in another video. Bye just now.